The children of the middle class have no future goes viral and gets censored on the internet. Hebei's Yanjiao explosion, building dismantled overnight and reporters blocked, raising doubts. China's richest targeted, new 3 harms face patriotic netizen backlash. Lawmakers demand probe into customs officials blocking Shen artist's U.S. return. It's all covered in today's China Truths. The children of the middle class have no future goes viral and gets censored on the internet. Recently, an article titled "The Children of the Middle Class Have No Future" spread online, resonating with many people in China, before being quickly censored by the authorities in Beijing. The author, a former employee of the Chinese tech company Huawei, shares a conversation with 2 former colleagues from Huawei during a gathering. One, currently living in Shanghai, mentioned that his son in junior high no longer wants to study, seeing his father, a graduate from a prestigious university and a postgraduate, still working overtime daily at his age. The son believes he won't be able to attend a good university and fears ending up worse off than his father, hence deciding to become a delivery rider. After discussing with his wife, the father, seeing his son's academic performance as average, agrees to let him work as a delivery rider after school. Another former colleague from Zhejiang lamented, "Kids these days are truly overcompetitive. Do you know the academic requirements for Huawei's recruitment now? It's all from Tsinghua, Beida, Peking University, 985 and 211 universities, or those who studied abroad, many from Ivy League schools. Even a regular graduate from a 985 university has to shed several layers of skin to get into Huawei." A Shanghai resident pointed out that artificial intelligence is replacing jobs that would have been the future for children from ordinary schools. "It's terrifying. Only the top degrees ensure a future, otherwise, it's all uncertain." The author concludes that whether it's the extreme sanctions faced by Huawei or the educational anxiety among the middle class, it all boils down to the fact that there's no more room for growth. The internal competition between countries and individuals is intensifying. It's hard to say when this internal competition will end, but the coming years will only be more brutal. Stories of youth from small towns attending prestigious universities, securing high-paying jobs at large companies, buying houses, and becoming standard middle-class citizens in big cities were a product of a specific era and will become increasingly rare. Since the middle class does not control the means of production, even the highest and most prestigious positions cannot be inherited, forcing children of the middle class to depend on the path their parents took, repeating the same journey of climbing the educational ladder. Unfortunately, apart from a few children who are indeed suited for exam-based education, most will not have a future. The exacerbation of exam-based educational competition and the devaluation of academic degrees in society have become a vicious cycle of cause and effect. On China's social media platform Weibo, netizens commented that the viral article had been censored. Hebei's Yanjiao explosion, building dismantled overnight and reporters blocked, raising doubts. At around 1 a.m. on March 14, the Emergency Management Bureau of Sana City, Hebei Province, issued a notice stating that an explosion accident occurred at a merchant in Yanjiao town at 7:54 on the 13th, suspected to be caused by a gas leak, resulting in 7 deaths and 27 injuries. As of now, the site cleanup has been essentially completed, and all the injured have been sent to the hospital for treatment, with 14 people already discharged. The cause of the accident is under investigation. Given the CCP's tendency to conceal disasters, the actual number of casualties may far exceed the official figures. Videos online showed that after the explosion, officials sealed off the site and demolished the exploded building overnight. A video filmed by a reporter from Modern Express showed that at 8 p.m. on the 13th, 12 hours after the explosion, the 4-story building that was bombed had been demolished, and the construction debris had also been removed. Netizens on Platform X expressed, "The investigation hasn't ended, and it's completely demolished." It can only be said that the accident is being edited. Some netizens questioned whether this explosion was like the gas explosion claimed by the official, destroying the scene traces. The investigation cannot continue. However, just by looking at the video of the explosion scene, some professionals have pointed out that this was not a gas explosion. According to analysis by Phoenix.com, the power of the explosion in Yanjiao was at least equivalent to the explosion of about 100 kilograms of TNT, with the huge explosion energy released causing the residential building to essentially collapse, and the remaining frame structure was also severely damaged, showing extremely serious destructive power. TNT is a high explosive, trinitrotoluene, widely used in military and industrial fields. The explosion caused significant damage to nearby residences and injured many, including elderly individuals. Subsequently, CCTV reporters went to the explosion site for a live report but were unexpectedly and violently driven away by local police, an incident exposed in a CCTV live broadcast. This incident prompted the China Journalists Association to issue a critical statement questioning if legitimate journalism was being obstructed by authorities, thereby sparking further discussions on media freedom. The association's rare stance of defiance and the public's reaction underscores the tensions between journalistic duties and government censorship efforts. The swift removal of the aftermath of the explosion, the erasure of potential evidence, and the obstruction of press coverage quickly sparked public speculation and concern. It cast a shadow over the transparency of the investigation and raised doubts about the true extent of the disaster. China's richest targeted, new 3 harms face patriotic netizen backlash. China's wealthiest individual, renowned private enterprise Nongfu Springs Zhongshanshan, celebrated author Mo Yan, and Tsinghua University have been labeled the new 3 harms by Chinese patriotic netizens. They have faced attacks and criticism from nationalistic patriots, stirring up a wave of patriotic nationalism, which is even showing signs of expanding. Another high-profile private enterprise, BYD's president Wang Chuanfu, has also been denounced. Zhongshanshan and his flagship brand Nongfu Spring have been under siege by netizens for the past half-month. Initially criticized for ingratitude by a former Waha dealer, Zhong's son was then accused of holding U.S. citizenship, followed by accusations against Nongfu Spring's green tea products for using Japanese architectural patterns on their packaging. Shockingly, a convenience store worker in Changzhou, Jiangsu, removed Nongfu Spring products from shelves, posting a notice refusing to sell products flattering Japanese enterprises. As a result, Nongfu Spring's stock price and market value have plummeted, with the stock price dropping from 44 Hong Kong dollars and 40 cents to 42 Hong Kong dollars since February 29, erasing 32.6 billion Hong Kong dollars in market value. Beijing's Tsinghua University has been attacked for not being sanctioned by the U.S., becoming a target for the Little Pinks. Nobel laureate in literature, the renowned Chinese author Mo Yan, has recently been hotly debated in China, with his works accused of disfiguring the Eighth Root Army, glorifying the Japanese army, denigrating Mao Zedong, and smearing the Chinese people. Furthermore, Wang Chuanfu, chairman of the major electric vehicle manufacturer BYD, has also been publicly accused, with claims that his illegitimate child holds U.S. citizenship, who has now joined BYD's management, becoming a new target for netizen attacks. Lai Jianping, a former Chinese lawyer and a current affairs commentator, views the surge in nationalism within China as being orchestrated by the CCP, with the underlying motive being political. While it appears that the movement is driven by Little Pinks, extreme nationalists, and those with vested interests, Lai suggests that the CCP is the hidden force directing these actions to promote nationalism in response to internal crises. This strategy serves to consolidate Xi Jinping's power by stirring nationalist sentiments, mirroring Mao Zedong's tactics to solidify his rule. Furthermore, nationalism is used to fuel animosity towards the U.S. and the West, legitimizing the CCP's rule and deflecting blame for China's challenges onto external forces, thus aiding in Xi's effort to strengthen his authority. Lai further noted that targeting private enterprises, which then donate to avoid disaster, is welcomed by the financially strapped CCP authorities, effectively stripping these businesses once more. Lai Jianping and others argue that the CCP orchestrates attacks on private enterprises and prominent figures like Nobel laureate Mo Yan, exploiting nationalism to divert from internal crises. Mo Yan faces accusations in a lawsuit for allegedly defaming Chinese history, highlighting a trend where those aligned with CCP policies target perceived dissenters. This climate of hostility is seen as a continuation of Cultural Revolution tactics, with the CCP encouraging attacks against its critics to consolidate power and suppress opposition. Critics, including Chinese-Canadian author Shen, note the dangers of this strategy, stressing that it fosters a society of mutual suspicion and aggression, particularly among the lower classes seeking to align with the CCP's agenda. The silence of the Chinese literary community and scholars, most of whom depend on the CCP for their status and livelihood, underscores the pervasive fear and compliance within Chinese society, perpetuating a cycle of political manipulation and societal division. Lawmakers demand probe into customs officials blocking Shenyun artist's U.S. return. On March 11, when Teresa Du, a touring manager for Shenyun, a New York-based performing arts group that stages global shows featuring dance and symphonic music, was entering the U.S. at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, she unexpectedly faced hate propaganda similar to that used by the Chinese Communist Party to persecute religious believers. Her group had just returned from Europe and was set to perform in Rosemont, Illinois. More concerning was that this propaganda came from a U.S. Customs officer, employed by Customs and Border Protection, CBP, under the Department of Homeland Security. The officer, who spoke Chinese with a mainland accent, gave Du the impression he was born in China. He told other customs officers that Du was illegal due to her beliefs, even though she is a U.S.-born citizen from Texas. Du told the Epoch Times that the Chinese-speaking customs officer told colleagues, "They are Falun Gong. They are political. They are illegal," referring to Du and other Shenyun artists. He repeatedly made these claims, creating a hostile atmosphere among the staff. Many Shenyun artists practice Falun Gong, a spiritual discipline severely persecuted in communist China, where adherents risk forced labor, torture, and even organ harvesting for their faith. Being political is a propaganda term frequently used by the CCP to attack Falun Gong and any dissenters. Hearing such remarks in the U.S. shocked Du, causing her to cry. The officer spoke to Du in Chinese while checking her U.S. passport, which made her uncomfortable, leading her to switch back to English. He then asked, "Are you funded by Falun Gong?" Du refused to answer, and he eventually allowed her to pass through customs. She said she felt verbally attacked and abused. "I am a U.S. citizen, born in the U.S. I was just coming home." Du said the Chinese-speaking officer stood up and began to physically approach her very closely, making her feel threatened. "I was a bit scared because he was really aggressive toward me." In response, Texas Representative Brian Babin, a Republican and Du's local congressman, found her experience unbelievable and called for a thorough investigation. He told the Epoch Times, "It's completely inexcusable for an American officer to do such a thing in the U.S., adding that if the complaint is verified, this customs officer should be immediately fired." He said, "We should never allow the People's Republic of China, PRC, one of the most authoritarian countries on the planet, to exert influence over our federal government." Concerns over CCP infiltration have long been on the radar of U.S. lawmakers and law enforcement, with attacks on CCP dissenters within the U.S. being closely monitored. Shenyun Performing Arts is recognized as the world's leading classical Chinese dance and music company, having been established in New York in 2006. It showcases classical Chinese dance, ethnic and folk dance, and story-based dance, thereby bringing to life 5,000 years of Chinese culture before communism. Every year, the Performing Arts Group embarks on numerous global tours, offering audiences worldwide the opportunity to appreciate the magnificent beauty of ancient Chinese culture. This culture has suffered devastation since the Chinese Communist Party came to power, particularly after the Cultural Revolution. Currently, Shenyun is banned from performing in mainland China, Hong Kong, North Korea, Vietnam, and other countries under communist rule or influenced by it. The Epoch Times has previously reported that Shenyun is a primary target of the CCP's overseas crackdown efforts, citing a directive to target Falun Gong's global presence. Previously, the FBI arrested 2 men, suspected CCP spies, for trying to bribe a U.S. official as part of a scheme against the U.S. Falun Gong community. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.